Hello, and welcome to this model analysis over the Kemp Instructional Design Model. The Kemp model, developed by Gerald Kemp, uses 9 design steps that are an essential part of 4 major elements of instructional course development. These 4 major elements are learners, objectives, methods, and evaluation. Each step of the model forms a continuous cycle of improvement and adjustment. This model is perfect for instructional designers of adult learning, since it puts the learner's needs, priorities, and constraints at the center of its design. This model is systemic, meaning it integrates systems thinking and learner-centric design, and it uses a more holistic approach to instructional design, bringing in elements of evaluation and feedback throughout the process, making it more recurrent and open to ongoing revisions and adjustments. Some of the design stages of this model may not be required, and others may be addressed at the same time. This model puts the focus on learner goals and takes into consideration the learning objectives, the needs and characteristics of the learners, instructional content and activities, instructional resources and support services, and learner assessment tools and methods. As stated before, rather than a linear model, the Kemp model uses a circular structure, making it dynamic and fluid. It is also iterative. That is, it works in various cycles, allowing for the introduction of feedback and revision to be worked into each element of the design process. The process is 1. Determine the specific goals and identify potential instructional uses. 2. Identify characteristics and needs of learners that should be considered during the planning process. 3. Clarify course content and analyze the proposed task components in relation to the stated goals and purposes of the course. 4. Define instructional objectives and learning outcomes. 5. Ensure that content for each component of instruction is sequentially and logically presented. 6. Design instructional strategies to enable individual learners to master the content and achieve desired learning outcomes. 7. Plan the instructional message and the appropriate mode of delivery. 8. Develop evaluation instruments suitable for the measuring and assessing learners' progress towards achieving course objectives. And 9. Choose the appropriate resources that will support both teaching and learning activities. As an instructional designer for my organization, I will use a real project I am working on to demonstrate the elements of the Kemp model in use. I have a client that has been experiencing issues between their project managers and stakeholders. So they requested that I design and develop a course over managing stakeholders. Using the Kemp model, I first determine the specific goals and identify potential instructional issues. The client's project managers are experiencing issues with handling stakeholders in their project environment. This is leading to high anxiety, demotivation, and non-committal attitudes from project leads and team members, and, of course, conflict with stakeholders. To combat these concerns, a training will be designed to teach project managers and other team members how to identify causes of stakeholder problems and how to solve them, how to correctly communicate and engage with stakeholders, and refinement of existing stakeholder management skills. Next, I will identify characteristics and needs of learners that should be considered during the planning process. Participants for this course will be adult learners selected by the client. These adult learners are taking time off work to attend the training. Frequent breaks will be included to provide time to check emails and return work calls. Also, since a variety of learning types are attending the training, content will be reinforced with visuals, videos, audio, and handout materials. To clarify course content and analyze the proposed task components in relation to the stated goals and purposes of the course, I will gather existing assets, research an existing curriculum on stakeholders, identify key takeaways of the training, noticeable change in relationships with existing stakeholders, and choose suitable learning activities, such as group discussions, role-playing, etc. Then a meeting will be held with the client to learn about the organization's current processes around stakeholders, issues occurring in the past with stakeholders, and what they want their employees to learn. Based on this analysis, strategies will be put in place to ensure all training objectives are met. Next, based off of the feedback and information received from the previous stage, I will define instructional objectives and learning outcomes. I will determine at what level learners should be able to process new information. New information will be presented, and then an activity will follow to reinforce that information. For example, when talking about different personality types, the learners will take a short personality assessment and then be put into groups with different personality types to discuss guided topics. From this course, learning outcomes for these adult learners should be diagnose the underlying causes of stakeholder problems, apply tips and strategies from experienced project managers to resolve issues among stakeholders, refine the ability to effectively manage projects and interact with project stakeholders, effectively identify, engage, and empower stakeholders, and apply stakeholder engagement strategies to specific organization stakeholders. To ensure the content for each component of instruction is sequentially and logically presented, learning objectives will be logically ordered to design the curriculum. For example, the course will start with an introduction of common terminology and why this training is important, and then build from there. Each objective will have its own section within the course. For example, specific stakeholder problems will be discussed and analyzed. The group will then brainstorm solutions before moving on to the next objective. Instructional strategies will be defined to enable individual learners to master the content and achieve desired learning outcomes. Learning activities that meet learning objectives will consist of role-playing, question and answer sessions, individual activities, and group activities. Next, the instructional message will be planned along with the appropriate mode of delivery. Since the Kemp model works well with e-learning, this will be an e-learning course, and resources and content appropriate to that mode of delivery and the instructional message will be used. For example, since the topic of stakeholder conflict is heavy and can bring up negative feelings, a humorous video over video conferencing in real life can be shown to lighten the mood and also move to the next topic of engaging with stakeholders in different ways. To develop evaluation instruments suitable for measuring and assessing learners' progress towards achieving course objectives, the correct assessment methods will be determined. For example, a multiple choice over terminology. Formative assessments will assess the current knowledge and skills pertaining to project stakeholders. After the training is completed, a summative assessment will be given to the learners to ensure they retained the main points of the training. And the last element in the Kemp model, choose the appropriate resources that will support both teaching and learning activities. This deals with the specific support services that may be needed for either the instruction or the learners. For this, IT support will be needed to ensure internet connections are enabled. Courseware for creating the e-learning is necessary, and other support services will be documented as the course is designed and developed. This is not where this model ends, however. After each element, a phase of feedback and revision is taken into consideration. This informs the next element of the design. And can change the direction of design. For example, after sequencing the content to meet the learning objectives, a meeting with subject matter experts or even the client can bring feedback that leads to a revision of this sequence or a change in direction altogether. The Kemp model works well with e-learning because it is set up in an agile way. Agile is an iterative approach originally developed for the software industry that has evolved over the years. It relies heavily on client feedback and revision and is very focused on the customer. The Kemp model also works in this way, a cycle of design, feedback, revision, and then move to the next cycle with that information. Either we need to revert back to a previous element and rework something, move on to the next element, or skip to the next relevant element in the design cycle. In this way, we are always keeping the learner at the center of the design. For more information and references for this presentation, please check out these sources. Thank you.